And in those
Right.
stories, we are the working class. We don't create our own communities. We are simply there as much as we might have cattle in farms. We're there to do work. And we only get stories of human um, civilization, human city building, much, much more recently. Now, there is a period, and I would place this around 60,000 years ago, when there's another visitation, and this relates to the stories of Asherah in the Bible, Ashari in the Enuma Elish. It echoes in stories in indigenous Australian story, Native American story, where others come and they teach a form of farming at that time. Different to the lessons we had 10,000 years ago, because these lessons are about living in balance with nature, living in harmony with your environment. And it's very interesting listening to the character of story from these cultures. Now, in Australia, Aboriginal Australian story takes us back at least 60,000 years. And it's that culture that we're looking at, this living in balance with nature, very similar to the Native American story. These
Hmm.
stories are often quite specific about where our helpers came from, what
Hmm.
region of space the visitors came from. And the Pleiades is the place that keeps getting a mention in those ancient stories. So, in terms of time stamps in the story, I think the time stamps I would spot are the separation of apes and humans from our primate ancestors, and then just before 200,000 years ago, where we're being colonized and exploited, and there are some upgrades as we go along. And then around 60,000 years ago, another visitation that helps us to live more independently on the land. And then 10,000 years ago, roughly, where we are given a much fuller education by beings the Babylonians called the Apkallu. And we're now at the point where not only can we farm, but we can build cities, we can become a civilization, we can dominate the planet. So those are the timestamps that I would locate. But the story of civilization as we know it is a much more recent one.
You discovered some new stuff inside the king's chamber. So what happened now, and what have you discovered now, sir?
Oh my goodness. Well, this was a pretty big one
Yeah.
because so you remember that on the King's Chamber walls, on the north wall, is the face of Orion, the Orion constellation, in the exact position it should be. It's right next to Taurus, and Taurus is right over Orion's throat. Taurus controls the throat chakra. But what was also interesting is I was looking closely at the imagery again after I came back from my last trip, and I have this whole recreation of the King's Chamber, and I can go in there anytime and do filming and stuff in there. It's pretty awesome. And thanks
Really?
to the help of ASU, so Arizona State University, they let us use their 96 camera cube. I feel like I'm in the Vitruvian Man box,
That's
right? Literally.
amazing.
And you're getting camera views all over your body and everything, all in real time. It's really awesome. But I was looking at the imagery and I noticed something about the pupils of the face of Orion. So the way I always orient to see that three-dimensional linear perspective drawing, etching in the north chamber, in the north wall of the chamber, is I look for the pupils. So once I find the pupils, then I realized, I was like, wait a minute. So there's a pupil there and there's a pupil there. And then right over the bridge of his nose is another divot. So there's a divot in the wall where the one pupil is. There's another divot in the wall etched as well where the other pupil is, so left and right eyes, and then a third eye. And I look at the proportion, I'm like, holy cow, that's Orion's belt.